All right, what is up, and welcome to Not Another CFB Pod, Week 14. This is the Picks Podcast, and we are a part of the Coda Sports Cappers Network. Proud to be so. Last week, guys, PG's Picks killed it. Another 5-1 week. I don't know how we keep coming up with these, but it's been awesome. I've been doing tons of research because I put a lot of work into this show. You know, I want it to be good, and the fact that the picks have been good lately is awesome. We're 49-36 on the year on this show. 49-36. That's pretty darn good. We've had a couple pushes in there too, but all in all, it's been a great year. I want to finish it with a bang. Last season, I wasn't giving out picks, but this is when I kind of came alive. Whenever we got to this stage of the season where it's conference championships, bowl games, that's where I really accelerated, and we're ramping right into that. So let's keep it going. But before we get into that, I guess we need to kind of clean up some coaching rumors. Notre Dame went ahead and promoted Marcus Freeman. We said that on Wednesday's show, that we thought that was going to happen, and that is what they did. OU at the time I thought was going to hire Brent Venables. At this point, I don't think that's happening. At this point, I think if Brent Venables was coming to Norman, he would already be here. He's recruiting for Clemson right now. So, I mean, that would be time he would spend recruiting for OU, and he's not doing it. So I just don't think he's coming. I don't think it's a thing where the deal's all tied up. It could still be. I mean, we don't know for sure, but I think if it was going to be him, we would have him already. It's going to either be, at this point, I suppose it's either going to be Fickle, Campbell, which Campbell probably in the same boat. He would probably already be here too. So then that would just leave the defensive coordinator, Dan Lanning from Georgia. And he's a younger guy. A lot of former OU players aren't really high on him to begin with. So maybe it's Fickle, maybe it's Brent Venables. We don't know yet and haven't heard yet. But we will let you know my thoughts on that whenever it comes around and we get to it. Before we get into the picks, I want to talk about our sponsor. Not Another CFB Pod is sponsored by Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy is an alternative to sugary energy drinks that can make you get a boost of energy and crash quickly, while also dumping a lot of sugar into your body. Rogue Energy comes in 4 unique product lines to best suit your personal needs. Their low-calorie, no-sugar energy formula is the perfect alternative to sugar-filled canned energy drinks and sodas. Their extreme formula provides the most energy, focus, and sports performance possible. Their hydration line offers focus ingredients without the added caffeine. You drink it anytime you're thirsty. And finally, their shake formula is a delicious 0-calorie energy milkshake. And the thing that makes Rogue Energy unique from other powdered drinks is that it dissolves really well and you won't get any of those chalky textures in your drink. With over 10 different flavors to choose from, we at Coda Sports Gambling Network definitely recommend Rogue Energy. Go to their website, www.rogueenergy.com, and use the promo code CODA to receive 10% off your order. Again, that's rogueenergy.com and use the promo code COTA, K-O-T-A. All right, so without further ado, folks, let's get into PG's picks. Like I said, we're coming in 2 5-1 weeks in a row. Our only loss last week was a terrible beat, which I haven't talked about yet, so I'll do that really quickly. We had the under in North Carolina and North Carolina State, under 63. It was 51 with 1 minute and 30 seconds left. UNC gives up a bomb touchdown pass where there's no reason for a receiver to be behind the DBs. Then they give up an onside kick. Then they give up another bomb touchdown pass. And again, there's no reason you should be behind the receiver. And we lose. And that's our only loss. So that's not bad when you think about it. Really good weekend. And I thought we had the right pick on every game, which is awesome. We had to sweat out the Army under just a little bit. Anyone who was on that one will remember. I love it when you guys DM me or just reply to the graphic or the pod and let me know you're tailing. It's awesome. And I definitely feel the energy, and it seems like we get some good vibes going when we all line up. So I love that. I've got 6 plays again for you guys, and all these are conference championship games. They're so fun. The lines are a little tighter now, but that's to be expected this time of year. They're playing their best ball. We've got to be playing our best ball. Let's do it. Our first game, Friday night, Western Kentucky versus UTSA. This is the Conference USA Championship. Western Kentucky -3. It's going down in San Antonio, so this is going to be a home game for the Roadrunners. But we're not scared of that. Western Kentucky has won 7 straight. They've got a quarterback, Bailey Zappi. You probably haven't heard about him Maybe you have, if you watch a lot of G5 football. He's averaging 422 yards passing per game. This team is electric on offense, and their defense has stepped it up these last 7 games, and that's a huge reason that they won those 7 games in a row. Their closest game in that 7-game span was a 15-point win to a lame duck that they weren't really even trying to bury, you know? So I love what this offense can do. The defense has stepped up a little bit. UTSA, on the other hand, 11-1 on the season. We faded them last week. North Texas won straight up 45-23. They smoked UTSA. UTSA has been getting by. They've got 2 or 3 or 4 games this season they should have lost that just miraculous things happened, lined up and let them win the game. So here we're going with the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers -3. Next game, that same night, Friday night, this is 7 p.m. Central, Oregon Ducks, Utah Utes, Pac-12 Championship, going down in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's going to be awesome. And if you guys remember my write-up about the first time these two teams met up, I said that I thought Utah would win the first one and Oregon would win the second one in the conference championship. And that's where we're at. I'm not going back on that now. Oregon +3 is the play. That's what we're going with. This is going to allow Oregon to show some of that team speed they have. That's their advantage over Utah. Utah's a more physical team, and typically in this time of year, I always go with the more physical team, but this is a scenario where we're in a dome. It's a neutral site. It's not going to be nearly as charged up as the Utah home crowd was. I like Oregon to make fewer mistakes in this game. I like them to show their team speed a little bit more this game. Travis Dye, the running back for Oregon, he's had to take over with some of the injuries and things they've had. They're starting to get a little healthier, but he's a stud, and he's one of the fastest guys on the field as soon as the ball gets in his hands. Oregon doesn't technically have to win this game straight up for us to hit this bet. Oregon +3, going with it. I think Anthony Brown has had some time to mature since that last matchup. And I think Oregon keeps it close, maybe even wins it outright. Sorry to my guy, Coach Martin, out there, is a big Ute fan. I hate going against the Utes. This is the first time I've done it all year. All right, next up, let's talk about the MAC championship game. You guys know I've loved betting on Kent State all year. If you've been following on Twitter at Potato Gobbler, been writing up plays on codasportscappers.com on the MAC, the midweek MACtion, and it went really well. Sad it's over. One big play we were always going with was Kent State overs. Kent State versus Northern Illinois here. The over-under is 74.5. Honestly, I think that probably hits, but I couldn't give that out as my play. I'm going with the Kent State Golden Flashes -3 here. This is in Ford Field, Indianapolis. It's on turf. It's going to be fast. Kent State's the offense that you can depend on a little more. Northern Illinois isn't bad on offense, but they are bad on defense. And Kent State's going to score every time they get the ball. This is a great offense. Northern Illinois, if they score, their kicker is one of the worst in the league. He averages 44 yards on kickoff. That means Kent State's going to get the ball on like the 40-yard line every time they get the ball. That's wonderful news for us. We'll take it, and we think Kent State's going to run it up on Northern Illinois. Let's go Golden Flashes. In that same Saturday morning time slot, we've got the Baylor Bears, Oklahoma State Cowboys, Big 12 championship matchup. Neither one of these teams have been in the Big 12 championship for a while. Baylor was in it a couple years ago, but ultimately lost in overtime to the Sooners. Oklahoma State hasn't been in it forever. So I think there's going to be nerves here for both teams. So we're looking at this under 46.5. We've got two defensive teams that are conservative on offense. Gary Bohannon for Baylor, we still not 100% certain if he's going to play in this game. I don't think it changes the handicap a lot because they're going to just try to run the ball, and we know how stout Oklahoma State's defense is. They're going to have a tough time. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, this is where Spencer Sanders likes to come into these big moments and make mistakes. We saw him make a couple mistakes against Oklahoma, but they overcame those. You may look at that final score versus OU and think, man, like not only is Oklahoma State's offense playing better, their defense is giving up a bunch of points. Well, both teams had explosive, weird plays. OU had a defensive touchdown. Oklahoma State ran a kickback. They also recovered a fumble on like the 2-yard line on a muffed punt. So some of those points were kind of hollow. The first two times these two played each other, it was in Stillwater, and the final score was 24-14. That's a 38-point total, and so I think we fly under this one too. It is on turf. It is at AT&T Stadium. It's a little faster surface maybe, But I think that's okay because both these teams, like I said, kind of like to, call it a little conservative. I think it's going to be a slow pace. So under 46.5 in the Big 12 championship. Okay, and here we go, the big one. SEC championship going down at 3 p.m. Central. Georgia Bulldogs, Alabama Crimson Tide going down at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. There's going to be a lot of Bama fans there. I do want to say that, but it's going to feel a little bit like a Georgia home game. There's going to be a lot of excited Bulldog fans in the stadium. This is an interesting spot for Bama. They're usually not underdogs, but I love the Georgia Bulldogs here, minus 6.5. I've talked about taking some alt lines, maybe under 9.5. Georgia minus 9.5, but I'm going to stick with the normal line for the show, Georgia minus 6.5. I think Georgia just has such a big advantage in the trenches here. We saw Alabama get pushed around by big defensive lines. The best D-line they played all year was the Texas A&M Aggies, and Aggies won that game straight up. Now, that was a road game for Bama. They've done some nice things. They almost and probably should have lost to Auburn last week, and that was just because they got pushed around. So in this one, I love Georgia. They're so strong in the front seven on defense. Best defensive team in the country. The offense isn't terrible. They're going to score enough points here. I think Georgia wins by at least 10, but this line is 6.5. That's the one we'll give out. Georgia minus 6.5. Let's go Bulldogs. And then for our last pick, this one's on ABC. This is the AAC Championship. Houston Cougars, Cincinnati Bearcats. We're looking at the under 53. This game will be played in Cincinnati's home field. Weather looks pretty decent, but that's not what I'm really looking at. I'm looking at both these defenses are very solid. Underrated. Houston's been underrated defensively all year. Their only loss this season coming to Texas Tech the first week of the year. Cincinnati obviously undefeated and looking to get into the college football playoff for the first time. I think this is again where we've got two squads with a lot of pressure on them. Houston, if they could knock off Cincinnati, that's a program win. Cincinnati, on the other hand, if they win, they're going to the college football playoff more than likely. So they want to score, they want to win. But I think these are just two really good defenses, and these offenses, they're okay, but they're not going to do anything crazy. They're not going to have a ton of big explosive plays. Houston played a game earlier this year with SMU that was an explosive fest, but it's a much different matchup. Cincinnati's really going to look to impose their strength on Houston. Houston's offense hasn't seen a top 60 defense on the season yet. What that means is they've been good this year, like I pointed out, but they've never seen anybody like Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a very good defense. They play very physical brand of football, and the refs let them get away with it. You're going to see their corners getting very handsy, but they have that reputation of playing tight, playing hard, and they get those calls. So I think this goes under the 53, and I think we're going to be happy about that. And all my plays are over by that 3 p.m. slot, so you can just enjoy the night games. If there's something you like, you can throw a little wager out there. But hopefully at that point, you've won 6 bets, and you sit back and enjoy the win on that day. I guess that wraps it up for me, guys. Very excited for bowl season. We'll have a big announcement about bowl season out on my Twitter, @PotatoGobbler, pretty soon, because bowl season is right around the corner. We've already had a couple bowls announced. They even added a bowl this year. I can't wait for it. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Remember that we're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So if you find this on YouTube and you're like, I really wish I could just put this in my pocket and go, put me on Spotify, wherever, we're on those platforms as well. Big shout out to the Coda Cappers, especially my guy Pace. Let's have some fun and win some bets, guys. Peace.